Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir.
Wow.
Well, this is a bit quicker, even though I'm a bit slow to the interview, than driving up to see you. Great. And Katie, you better lead us on, and then we
Well,
can
yeah.
talk.
So after a major exhibition such as Steve had at the St James's Gallery towards the end of last year, it would be about now that you and I, David, would be travelling up to Steve's studio to see him in person, to talk about the show, to explore the new work. But we are having to do it via Zoom, unfortunately. But it does provide a brilliant opportunity for us to share this with some of our collectors and some of Steve's followers. And it's a bit of an opportunity for a sneak peek into his studio, which, by the way, he does not normally open up to anybody. So we're very privileged.
No, that's right. Yes.
To have this view into
I hope you're happy with what we're trying to do, Steve. I think it's important that people can read the very symbolic nature of your pictures, which I don't think we've quite got across yet to our public. Any way we can help people to get inside your pictures better. I'm sure Stanley Spencer had the same problem, but they didn't have a Zoom then. But you know, it is that sort of thing.
Well, also, I'm hoping we might have some questions from other people. I'm going to be putting an email address
that would be good.
On the blog and at the end of this chat, so that people who have watched, and we hope they're out there, if they have questions, Steve, then perhaps if we get back together again in a similar format in a couple of weeks, I can put some of these questions to you. I do feel very privileged to be feeling as though I'm amongst your paintings in the studio.
Well, I mean, as you can see, I didn't, just to start from the top, I didn't set out to paint this painting as Adam and Eve, playing around with some drawings. And this chap here with the red gloves on emerged, and then literally before I knew it, I literally had the full painting there in front of me, and it actually seemed right to call it Adam and Eve. And I think the idea of it is that symbolically, as a woman, she's nurturing, and he in this painting looks like he's more of the protagonist because he's got the sort of the red gloves on. He looks more threatening, but in actual fact, and the red gloves are a barrier. I think they're a protection from Eve, perhaps. I don't know. Are they a barrier from his own feelings, from life? But I think symbolically, and also all the thistles, the prickliness of it, you know, it could be symbolic of the prickly relationship between men and women. She's the one who's in a stronger position. He's the one who's vulnerable. And I'm beginning to realize this is, I think, a lot of what's coming through, is that I'm feeling some degree of vulnerability as a male. And that's being played out in society as we see women's roles within society.
And I have to say, all of your female characters, I see them as immensely strong and very powerful.
Good.
And although you often depict through them that their lives have not perhaps turned out quite as they anticipated or hoped for, and their dreams haven't always evolved, but actually they're still there, and they're still strong, and they're still part of this support network within their family lives, within society. You know, we see them here nurturing the soil. I mean, this wonderful figure of Eve, it's almost as though she's digging herself out of the soil here. She is an earth mother, isn't she?
Well, you know, you're absolutely right. I mean, you're onto something here, because it's something that is virtually inexpressible, and I'm trying to express it. Some of the other paintings that you exhibited, like for example, you know, tender balance. These shapes are like yolks. Well,
I like that, but you've used rusting bits of metal too, mesh and things like that, in some of your paintings, which are obviously kind of ironmongery and detritus that you sort of, if you like, picked up, and they are demonstrative of the area and the circumstances and that type of thing. So I thought they were very clever, those.
So it's a little bit of taking those sorts of shapes and forms but I wanted to put them in such a way that they're just resting. You know, they're not serving any earthly purpose other than there's a delicate balance of just, any gust of wind could blow them over. So this is suggestive of the very, and I say tender balance of the very difficult relationship between men and women, that tender balance. One day it could be this, next day it could be that. And it's that sort of negotiating.
And a simple gust of wind can send it in a different direction.
Yes. And again, this is sort of reference of life, really. One day something's great, next day this, everything could change.
Figures they are vulnerable and they are open. And we talked about that rawness, and that does allow us all to feel we're on the same level with them, and that we share the same hopes and dreams and aspirations and the same struggles in whatever walk of life we're in.
You know, Kate, that's exactly it. These, I mean, I can't impress upon people enough. These are not macabre or difficult paintings, in as much as that, you know, all of the symbolism is very positive. All symbolism is about hope. It's all about hope. Even
life may be a struggle, but you keep moving forward.
Yes, even in the anniversary you were talking about that was in the show, that finger, without that finger, that painting is a very dire, depressing depiction of two people. That raised finger was a finger of hope.
It's the key to the whole composition.
Can I just show you something here? I'm just gonna. Well, this one, I just. Can you see that one there? Yeah. This is called the Tree Planters, and it's like a little study, a sketch for perhaps a larger painting that I might do in future. But this particular building exists. It's a small hunting lodge that's on the edge of the Ince Blundell estate. So there's actually a road that goes through here. And it's a scene that I'm very familiar with. I was born and brought up somewhere over there. And I'm actually going to do a few more paintings similar to this from this area.
You said it was tree planters.
Yeah, they're planting.
Yeah, they're planting new trees in the foreground.
And very similar in theme then to our other painting, Unspoken, and committing to this idea of the circle of life. You're always planting things and seeing their growth and then their demise, and then planting them again. And this seems to be a continuum.
I'm a frustrated gardener.
Well, I think it's great. I do think that landscape is extremely well painted. It's the whole sort of what I call the chiaroscuro of the conception of the colour of the painting is old master qualities, Steve. And so, you know, in writing, describing yourself in the way that you do in paint, you do beg questions. I think, you know, you haven't blurred your edges. You've made it very obvious what you're trying to say in terms of the landscape and the tree planters and things like that. And then you just come on to this sort of question, you know, why or how, and it's just nice to be able to talk about these things in more depth.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when I'm painting figurative stuff, it's very difficult. And when I go and paint this, there's an ease, and it's like I mean, not to make too much light of it, but it literally just comes off the end of the brush. It's and I find these very, very enjoyable. And it's coming from a sort of a bucolic sort of Samuel Palmer-esque, except they're not stylized.
Yeah, there's a lot of romanticism in these pictures. I quite agree. That's where you belong, I think. Yeah, I do. I think there is so much of a human element in everything you do, really. You are a literal painter, but you use a lot of symbolic subjects to ideas within the painting, which can read in a much deeper way than something as ordinary as a flower picture, for argument's sake.
That's it. A still life is never just a still life when it's by Steve Delonde. There's an awful lot more to read into it.
This is interesting. This is good to be able to talk to you like this, because this is the sort of warts and all, really, I think, because I sort of need this, because I have been, you know, it's very difficult because I've got lots of ideas and I come in here and work away at stuff. And I'm thinking at the back, I'm hanging down with myself thinking, but is this going to be okay for Messums? Is this going to be okay? Will this sell? I mean, you can't not, it's very hard for me not to have those sort of thoughts, being very open with you.
Because what you need to have down on canvas is a bit of you. And we all know that the bit of you is totally acceptable and people admire it.
And I know immediately after an exhibition, it can possibly feel a bit like a vacuum, and it might be sometimes hard to concentrate on moving forward again. But judging by what we're seeing in your studio, you're clearly straight back to work and planning the next body of work.
Absolutely, Katie. I mean, that was really difficult because, you know, obviously I'd spent 2 years working towards that show, and 2.5 years. And obviously COVID meant that only really half a dozen people saw it. And the disappointment was enormous. But you have to pick yourself up. So halfway through October, I just came in and started working. Started drawing out things straight onto the canvas, just heads, shapes and things, not with any particular aim, just to try and get myself going again, you know, and because I think that...
I think that does show great strength, I must say.
Well, I think, to use an analogy, when you're in a flooded boat, you bail, don't you? You don't just let the water come in. So I thought, well, so basically, I've just been bailing furiously since October. I'm actually in a really good place right now to do, and I'm working daily. And as I said, I'm quite keen to, I've got a couple of landscape sort of ideas with figures in, which I want to do. I'll probably start them next week.
I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to have another chat like this again in 2 more weeks and pick up on some of the strands that we've talked about today. Very major exhibition over the summer, which I think David's talked to you about featuring your work in.
Yeah, that's tremendous. That's a great lift, that.
And it's going to be a great opportunity for the people who weren't able to get to your show because of lockdown to come and see it, because there is nothing more extraordinary than standing in front of these canvases.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, I think today's been really, really useful. I think we've got lots of stuff to work with.
Thanks, Steve. Lovely to see you. Okay.
And thank you for inviting us into your studio.
Okay. Thank you. Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Steve.